Lost in a blur of weather hype? I can help by bringing weather down to size and by putting the proper spin on it.
One way to reduce weather anxiety and confusion, find a good local weather expert, or as I put it, a weather rabbi. So how do you do that? Today we're going to look at 6 qualities of a good weathercaster regardless of the medium. Hi, I'm David Gilhousen. I'm a retired Weather Service meteorologist, and I help to make meaning out of meteorological madness. First quality, do they communicate uncertainty? Believe it or not, some hurricanes are actually pretty easy to forecast, while others, oh gee, they're real problems. Outside of hurricanes, there are many situations where we can be very confident of the weather. And then once every couple of weeks, oh boy, do we have a real challenge on our hands. Hey, does your expert communicate that to you? Do they show how a forecast could go wrong or several possibilities downstream that could happen? The really good ones do that. Second, you want somebody who's going to be there to monitor the weather in critical weather situations, even if it's between broadcasts or in the afternoon. I knew of a great TV meteorologist in Pennsylvania who had an unusual job. You see, he was the gold judge of a minor league ice hockey team, and he'd do that in between the 6 and 10 o'clock news. Can you imagine if the game went into overtime today? Or if there was a fight over a disputed goal and he wound up in the middle of it? Can you imagine him showing up at the 10 o'clock news with a broken tooth, trying to explain that to the audience? No, you want somebody who's going to be there to monitor the weather, to be able to interrupt the broadcast only when warranted. If you find my tips helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to give you easy access to future videos. Third point, rural areas. Do they give enough attention to small towns in rural America? Because they often get the brunt of the bad weather. And the big news outlets and weather channels often give short thrift to these areas, treating them like they're flyover country. On the other hand, one of my favorite meteorologists, James Spann from Birmingham, has driven every country road within 100 miles of his city. He knows all the barbecue restaurants, in fact. He rates them online and has been known to, well, get a little upset if a tornado threatens one of his favorite barbecue joints. They've quizzed him on small towns in his areas to see if he knows real names from fake names, and he nails those quizzes every time. Fourth, you want to see them have more than a seal of approval from the American Meteorological Society or the National Weather Association. You want to see if they have a degree in meteorology or at least extensive coursework. Now you're thinking, golly, now I can't buy you. You're getting arrogant. But hold on a second. I'm not talking Ivy League. I'm talking land-grant colleges, okay? Here's why. Look at a meteorologist as though he were an orchestra conductor. An orchestra conductor has had extensive lessons in 3 or 4 instruments. They've had coursework in music theory and composition. They've had extensive mentoring in their life, and that leads to a richness that gives them a palpable passion for music that you can see, that's visible. Think of people like Leonard Bernstein back 50 years ago when I was growing up. That's the same thing you'll find in a good TV meteorologist. The fifth point, they're not afraid to anticipate and at times even disagree with the Weather Service. In other words, they become independent thinkers. Here's why that's important. Sixth, they need to know how to interpret radar. During the 2020 tornado that hit Nashville late at night, 2 meteorologists were urging their viewers to stay up because a thunderstorm cell that had once dropped a tornado in western Tennessee, and it was about 20 minutes out, could still possibly drop one, that it wasn't over yet. Sure enough, about 5 or 10 minutes later, they noticed some preliminary signs that that cell's rotation was strengthening and alerted viewers ahead of time to keep watching it. And sure enough, it was about a minute later, and the Weather Service issued a tornado warning. It's that type of anticipation that you're looking for in a good meteorologist. Also, in several parts of the country, we have things called radar holes, places that are more than, say, 70 miles or 80 miles away from a radar. And there are places like Meridian, Mississippi, the north part of Charlotte, the south part of Cincinnati in upper Kentucky that are notorious radar holes. Now, that sounds like something out of sci-fi, but it simply means that the Weather Service ability to see the radar for flash floods, hail, or tornadoes is greatly limited in these areas. So it's very important in those places that the local TV markets have their own radars. So there you have it. 6 qualities to look for in a good local weathercaster. We're going to be looking at some more next week. If you enjoy these tips, go ahead and subscribe. We'll keep you posted. See you next week.